Good morning. Thank you for tuning into this channel. And if you do like this small bit of sharing, please do subscribe and like the channel or post it on your own Facebook page. Everything helps everything else to get the word out there. And what I'm attempting to do, aspiring to do, is to bring a counterpart to a lot of the negativity and the pessimism that's running forth in our world right now by showing the underlying energies that are driving this forward. So often, what looks to be something that is creating immense suffering for mankind is forcing growth, forcing change. Just 1 second. Come on, in you come. And forcing a new perspective for the country as a whole. When I look at the chart of the United States of America, the first thing I look at right now is Pluto in Capricorn. Now, the planet Pluto, which is the ruler of Scorpio, takes around 240 to 248 years to travel the entire chart. So we are about to go through what is called the Pluto return. In other words, it's 240 years since Pluto was last in Capricorn at 27 degrees. Right now, Pluto is at 20 degrees and it's inching its way up there over the next year and a half. And it's going to be a profound upheaval, which we've already been going through, because we're feeling the energies of Pluto coming in right now. And what it's doing is it's lifted the rock and all the shadowy underbelly of racism and self-absorption or national pride to the extreme is being exposed right now. And I was studying the United States chart while also studying over the last year Donald Trump's chart and studying the chart of January the 10th, 2012, which is going to be a huge day of shift in the United States because Saturn is going to greet Pluto at the same degree, 22 degrees, and Jupiter is heading up into Capricorn and also expanding the expression of what that will be. Now, for those of you that aren't astrologers, it all sounds a bit like Greek, but I can tell you that Saturn, being the planet of structure, being the planet of the way we've always done things, the way that our Constitution has been set up, the way that our country has been created, the belief systems, when it meets Pluto, and it's been skirting and flirting with Pluto for the last 2 years, what's happening is that Pluto is destroying and undermining the negative aspects of Saturn and taking the country and forcing it to take a look at its own deeply hidden proclivities. So if you think about the Constitution, when we signed the Declaration of Independence in 1776, Pluto was at 27 degrees. We were writing up this amazing Constitution that was ensuring freedom. We created the Statue of Liberty. We spoke about the ways to preserve freedom. All the while, the country was set up with this Pluto opposite the Mercury of the country. So there was a certain hypocrisy to the declaration. Not that the beauty of that declaration wasn't magnificent and a wonderful model for the entire world to look at and to follow, but it was showing that in the Mercury being the communicator, the written document, and Pluto in opposition to that being the underbelly of a country building its strength on the back of slaves, annihilating the American Indian the land and money controlled by the few, and a sense of a national pride being built, which Pluto comes along and says, we're going to take your national pride and we're going to break it into pieces, and you're going to rebuild your value system in the country, and you're going to rebuild how you feel about yourselves as a country and how you interact in the world, because Pluto is a very humbling planet. So right now we're going through a lesson in humility. We're embarrassed by how our president acts overseas in front of us. We're embarrassed by all the levels of denying climate change in a world where 98% of the countries in the world are battling, as are we, these horrific effects. And we also are looking at, with the Pluto coming up to oppose Mercury, a devastating attempt by the president to silence the newspapers, the press, the written word, and call it fake news, and try to make it a sense of something, lose our confidence in the exposure to the truth that we're getting around us. Not that the news is always the full truth, but it is a personal expression by different peoples to bring forth what is really going on behind the scenes. So we've got this Pluto conjuncting Saturn on January the 10th, and it's going to oppose Mercury. It's also going to, and we'll go into this another day, affect Donald Trump's chart enormously. So what do we as a country need to do? And I'm going to draw a few cards in this. What are the choices we need to make because if we take the Pluto energy, if we see the earthquake and the tidal wave coming, there are steps that we can take to work along with the deconstruction in order to help create a new construction. And this new construction of the country, if you think of Saturn as being the constructor, probably when I've looked astrologically, will slowly go through huge upheaval and shift in banking systems, in the wealth, where the distribution of wealth is. And also there's going to be like a new wave of young people that I would say when Saturn hits Aries in 2025, 2026, that's when conjuncts Neptune, that's when we're going to see the new ideal truly be embraced by the majority. Not that we have to wait that long, but we're going to see the manifestation more clearly at that time, because Neptune represents a higher octave of love. It is the divine moving through us, and with Saturn in Aries at conjuncting that Neptune right on top of it, it's going to bring about a sense of starting anew with a divine inspiration. I do feel that in my heart of hearts, as desperate and as ghastly as things have been lately with our treatment of the children, with our treatment of the children that have severe illnesses, the children at the border, the lack of concern for children with guns, the lack of concern of children with education, that we are, that is where the root system, that's where the new growth is going to come. So these young people that we have right now, their Pluto, the millennials, their Pluto is in Scorpio. So it's in the ruler of Pluto. So that's a powerhouse of young people, that group that's around 20 to 35 right now, 33, maybe 34. Those are powerful souls, and over the next few years, they're going to start taking power. And what's following right behind them is the Pluto and Sagittarius generation. Those are the dreamers, those are the inspirers, those are the spiritual leaders. So first, the Pluto and Scorpio children are coming in to clean up all the horrible stuff we have done from the era of Pluto and Leo. The egotists, the ones that came in thinking we knew everything and had no respect for the land, just everything, and ego. The United States is the best, we're the number one, and this whole idea separate from everybody else, and everyone has to listen to us. That old book, The Ugly American, that was written was very symbolic of Pluto in Leo and how we were seen around the world. Well, now we're being seen around the world. With Pluto coming up to hit Pluto, we're being seen around the world as foolish. They call it the Pluto of the Emperor's New Clothes, because we're being unmasked and our more negative sides are being exposed, and it's pretty damn shocking and embarrassing, and we kind of have to take a gulp and hope that the world forgives us and get back in there and realize that, you know, Pluto in Capricorn is also about cleaning up our environment, and that's our number one thing right now if we don't have a world to live in for our children. Again, it moves back to our children. What about the children? So I'm just going to draw 2 or 3 cards symbolic of this era that we're in, and I'm going to go into this more and more deeply as my readings go on. But today we're basically looking at Pluto. We're not even going into the whole of Saturn in Capricorn, but going into the depth of Pluto, because that's where we've been, and that's why we felt so tired. Because when you personally are going through a huge internal shift, when you've gone through a death of somebody in your family, or you've gone through a death to your own way of being, it's tiring, and you need extra sleep, you need extra nurturing, you need to get into the nature, you need to be kinder to yourself and to others. So let's just draw a card for the United States right now, and what is the journey. And before I draw a card, I always call forth the divine levels. There's my other little guy. Okay, come on in. That's Popcorn. He has to be in here for the cards. But as soon as I go into a more meditative state, he always feels it and wants to come in where the energy is. So I'm calling forth a message for humanity right now to help assuage the fears and the memories and the holding on of belief systems that just aren't serving us anymore. Again, I'm using the William Blake cards because I adore these cards. They're so aligned with spirit, and they just warm my heart with their messages. So the card I got 2 cards stuck together. So I'm going to show them both. The one is the card of strife. This is where we are right now. This is what we're feeling. We're feeling incredibly defensive. We're feeling like we're instead of finding links to each other and creating bridges to each other, we're finding ways of being polarized, and we have to be right. Now, whenever we feel we have to be right, I mean, we're assuming everybody else is wrong. So the we have to be right is truly an ego-based stance. I'm right, you're wrong. And why is it we never say I'm wrong, you're right? So right now we need to be looking at where we are wrong and building bridges back toward each other. So this is the strife. Now, the card that I got initially is every move of wisdom is peculiar to a person's own individuality. So this is the card of individuality. So what that speaks to me is that as we create unity, the path to unity and the path to healing our country is by individually, she's looking in the mirror at herself. She's not looking at anybody else or pointing a finger at anybody else. She is looking at herself. And so when we look in the mirror, and it's a great exercise to get out a candle and look in the mirror and gaze into your face and ask to be a representative on the earth right now of positivity inspiration, and hope. So the pathway back is through developing our own expression of aligning with our own God self and dropping the I am right. And I'm going to go into that much more over the next few days. This is just a glimpse into where we are, because an astrology chart is made up of 12 planets and 12 houses and many energies interacting just like we are. We're not just one person. We've got all these people around us. We're interacting with all of them in a different way. And so the healing is coming through the greater we grow in the depth of knowing ourselves, and the less we have to be right, the greater the capacity to reach out and take the hand of someone else and show divine mercy and love. So I'm going to end with that today. God bless you all. And if you have any questions, if you would like a personal reading where Pluto is going in your chart, how is it affecting you? Pluto's affecting us all in a different part of our charts. And it's very helpful and very much a growth-oriented planet, and where we're going through our greatest transformation. And all the scratching is coming from popcorn. I'll end there. God bless you. And don't forget to like the page and to subscribe. Thank you.